Is the camera okay? Yeah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good morning. So today we are quite honored to have not only the Hijjas here. I'd like to introduce Professor Robert Powell, eminent architect and also writer. Many of the books that you pick up from Bashir it's going to be him. Okay, so he's actually a professor at Panelists University, and he's going to give some lectures there and also teaching, and I hope to also attend some, or maybe some of us will be attending it at Taylor's. So today we have our fourth conversation, which is on Islam and Islamic architecture, and this is part of the series of conversation that will be turned into a book by Dewan Bahasa Pustaka. I'm going to have to submit the manuscript in about a week's time, so this is going to be hard work after that. I'd like to introduce the panelists today. We have, as usual, Dr. Norhayati Hussein. He's been here throughout the whole 4 conversations, and she used to be my student PhD, doing PhD on Malayan Architect Co-Partnership. So she's also part of the history and theory gang, we call it. Okay, I would also like to introduce the other panelists, which is Mr. Syazwan, Nick Syazwan. He used to be my student, used to be my student, not only in studio but also in the final year thesis. So for the final year thesis, I still remember he did this student center for university, and got involved in looking at the life of political student activists. Okay, and then when he left, I lost touch for about 2 or 3 years. When I met up with him, I was very pleased to find that he joined an NGO called the Islamic Renaissance Front, which is a NGO that is propagating progressive Islam. And so he has also read many books on Islamic political theory. So I'd say that now the teacher is going to be a student on that. And he's also interested in architecture theory. So both of us are looking at reconstructing the whole idea of Islamic architecture, and from that socio-political theory that we have. So I'm quite happy to have, we call him Sean, so all right, students call him Sean, so we also call him Sean. Okay, so today, as usual, we will be having Dr. Hijjas responding to some of the questions, and also maybe he will be looking at presenting something on the Makkah project, I think. Yeah, you have that. Okay, so we'll begin. First of all, if I can read the questions. This firstly about Islam, the idea of Islam in a modern society. And I have always emphasized to students that architecture does not begin with architecture or with buildings, but it begins with our understanding of society. How deep you understand the society, and that is how you would be reflecting it into the architecture. It doesn't work the way in which if you're going to learn building to building, you can only get some knowledge, but not the whole entire idea, and that would also limit your approach to design in terms of typological aspect and not the real work of the architect. So, Dato', do you think the present education methods of Muslims will help them accommodate themselves to the modern lifestyle? Do you think Muslim society in the world can live peacefully with other faiths? This question is about, as you can see, sadly, I think nowadays on the television or on the internet, the idea of the IS or so-called extremism on the part of some Muslims. But I also had written a very controversial article called "The Problem of Middle Ground Muslim," meaning all of us. I don't know whether you read the article, but that was very controversial in the sense that Many are thinking that they are extremist Muslims, but actually middle ground Muslims, the so-called quote-unquote ordinary Muslims, are also having almost the same mindset because of the education system. The idea of seeing that Islam is right and everybody else is wrong, that sort of thing. And I think something is wrong with the education of Islam from my perspective. So I was just interested to see how Hijjas respond to that education of traditional education in relation to how we are going to be a Malaysian citizen as well as a global citizen.
Well, thank you.
I'm not aware of the special stream for education for the Muslim. I thought they are all in the same stream, in the same general school. There's no separation, there's no indication that for the Muslim you have different kind of course of study. The only thing I know of that some of the schools require them to go afternoon extracurricular, or even university they have extracurricular in Islamic studies and knowledge of Islam. And that's all I know as far as the high school or the university's teachings are concerned. Now come back to the teaching to some of the Muslims. They're all the same thing in a way, but you know, Muslims are mainly very orthodox people. Let me say this, especially the Malays. All Malays, they proclaim and declare that they are Muslim. Whether they follow the teaching of Muslim or not, it's irrelevant. But they are Muslim. And if the chips gone down, they fight with their tooth and nails, for that cause. And yet they are not really following the teaching of Islam, sad to say. They don't pray 5 times a day. Sometimes they, do things which is un-Islamic and so on. But in terms of, rivalry, or even there is a war or something like that, they will fight for their lives for that. That's what it is. I myself was like that when I was born. That was probably the teaching in the religious schools. But when I went to Australia, I was amazed that somebody said, I was in Adelaide, they said, there is a mosque there. I said, oh yes, would you like to go? So I went. And it was done by Afghanistan camel drivers when they were in Australia. And they built that mosque, one of the oldest mosques in Australia, in Adelaide, by the way. So when I went there for the first time, I was aghast to see a lot of Europeans are Muslim. I said, no, I can't believe that. Are you Muslim, sir? Of course I am, they said. I'm from Poland, I'm, Muslim, Polish, things like that, and various things. But in my youth, the first time when I went there, I never thought there will be European Muslims, so to speak. So that's terrible. That's a discovery in a way. And that's how it is different. And the way we pray is different. If we still pray 5 times a day, but we socialize after that, we know better of people from other countries and so on. And to me, and they are more tolerant in a way because they have the different ethnic groups and so on, Albanian and so forth. They have different cultures, and you got to absorb them and learn about them and appreciate them. And this is the whole world of that change for me and for that. But the rest of us who are still in Malaysia, I think they are still very, very orthodox, and they follow some things in that way. This is in a way that we have not been taught or have special lessons or anything like that to be tolerant. The trouble with the Muslims is they are not really tolerant, although they are very kind. Malays are very kind, very soft-spoken, courteously, very courteous, but deep down, in a way, they are not tolerant. And they think they are the only the right one in this world in terms of religion. The others are heathens. And that has been the attitude, and I'm afraid of that, and nothing changes on that until today. I'll give you another episode. It's my own. I run a residency, art residency. You know, artists from all over the world come to, especially Australia. And also we have others, performance arts, other kind of arts. And I was interested in music. When I went to Bali, I bought a set of gamelan, Bali gamelan, and brought it back to my so-called kampung. I live in a kampung, but very big place in the kampung. And I started to learn gamelan, and I asked all the neighbors, kids especially, or young men and women, to join us, as if it is part of kind of Bali cultures. You know, if you can't afford it, you try to have other people interested. And we went on for first week, second week, third week, well, 1 month, very well. And also my daughter, being a choreographer and dancer, teaching the Bali dances as well. So after a few months, we have less and less people, students, you know. I joined them too, you know, to learn Bali music. Then when I met some of these kids and I said, why didn't you come? Oh, I'm sorry, sir. My father forbid me to go. I said, why? Oh, they think the music that you have is Hindu. You know, Bali is Hindu Buddhism. I see, I said. Then when I met the parent, I asked the parents, why do you think that? Oh, don't encourage my children, you know, to do that, because he thinks that this is, you know, not the music for the Muslim and so on. I said, please, remember that. What about violin? Where they come from? They come from Christian country. What about guitar? What about piano and so on? And yet we do. The Malays all take lessons on that. What's wrong with this gamelan, Balinese kind of music? It's only instrument, it's only music. It's not what we, you know, trying to go into the religion and things like that. And that's what it's all about. That's today. It's today's world. It is like that. So it is sad in a way, because nobody to change that kind of attitude. And sometimes you get horrific kind of things, you know, happening, especially with the religious department. Now in the Saudi Arabia, it's different thing, of course. Also, they call it Wahhabi. They're the extremist Muslim in a way. And the Wahhabi, in one time, in terms of education, if a student cannot go into the same university, mind you, university, men and women together, they must be separated. I designed one of the university. And this university called Al Faisal University, find out from your Google, is one of the breakthrough what I thought to bring in, and I was really enthusiastic about it, because I have a chance not only to just to do architecture, but to change the social fabrics or thinking about the Muslim world. And they let me do that. But it is very difficult to do it in a way. They say, I still think that you must separate the men and women into different classes. In Saudi Arabia, they have 2 classes, one for men, one for women. So the lecturer has to do twice of the same subject. That's how it is. And there are many other extremism in that way. So the people I met with is quite liberal about it, and they say, we want to change it, but change it slowly, if you can. Design in such a way that we can adapt it when Saudis have changed their attitude. And more open. So this is architecture, you know, which is I'm talking now. So I got to think about it, how to preserve certain thing, the value, and how to have some kind of transition, the architecture of transition in a way. How do you do that? And not only that, what you have learned before, what's wrong with higher education kind of planning, which I think is wrong completely. Even today they do the same thing. In that, every faculty has its own autonomy, own building, and the student, when come out, they never mix. And the lecturers doesn't make that either. And that's the position, even today. So I thought this is one of the things that you can make a good example of, or new directions of architecture. So what I did is, what they give me the site is the first king of Saudi Arabia's palace. They call it Al Faisal Palace. They say, I want to preserve that. All right, then we look at it, you know, like good architects and so on. You look at the site, you learn about everything else, the cultures, the climates and so on. And the constraint, then you find out, okay, with that kind of area, they're not big area. So what we come out with it's a building in a circle. Different faculty, but join each other in a circle. Hope I have the side. So with that, we separate men and women. The women in 2 levels on top. The men is 2 level below. So you have 2 levels on top, 2 levels below. The first floor and the 3rd floor for the woman to come down into the lecture hall at the gallery space, upper circle. And the man in the lower. And the lecturer is still 1. So you don't have, the professors and lecturers don't have to repeat their lectures. And it is separated. The funny thing about Saudi Arabia and so on, they said the women can look at men, but the men cannot look at women. Strange, I'd say. This, you call it, you talking about feminism and so on, it's well way out. The female got upper advantage. They sit upstairs, they can see men, we cannot see them. Things like that. Anyway, that's part of the joke. So